Yo, what's going on? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior, producer Jake Chipper on the ones and twos, and we have the Bird Gang hanging out with us from every pocket of America and worldwide. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we greatly appreciate all of you for making today's Eagles Now Live a part of your day. It is a beautiful Wednesday, October 30th. With all of the beautiful people who are hanging out. And we have a loaded show on the Eagles Now rundown. We're going to preview this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Key matchups to watch. My prediction. How Philadelphia can be victorious. What they have to do to not lose that game and win 4 games in a row. The NFL trade deadline is also coming up on Tuesday, November 5th. It's a big day across America for many reasons, including it being the NFL trade deadline. Do the Eagles need to make a move? Will they make a move? And which players could they go after? We're going to dive into that. And then lastly, we're going to open up the floor and do a mailbag because I want to chop it up with all of the real ones who tune into this program. So you can start getting those questions in right now. Use the hashtag Eagles, or better yet, send in a super chat. And we'll talk super chats coming up because we have a goal that we're trying to hit on today's show. First, if you're pumped up about the Birds being 5-2, winning 3 games in a row, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We have 170 people watching, and we just started the show 2 minutes ago, including our minute intro screen. So I want everybody watching right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. As for our super chat goal, YouTube rolled out something new, and you'll see that in the chat, you can see our goal. So today's goal, if we get 10 super chats of $10 or more on this live stream, producer Chip will put on a Trevor Lawrence wig because the Eagles are playing the Jags on Sunday, and I will do a beer boot. But in order for us to hit that goal, for it to show up, you have to click into the goal and then send a super chat within that goal. If you send a regular super chat, obviously it's not going to work. And of course, your super chats go a long way in supporting everything that we do right here on the program. And Miles Deep said, Big Dick Chip. That's exactly what he is. That's exactly what it is. We actually call him that in the bullpen, which is what we call our Chat Sports office, where everybody kind of hangs out. They have their desks and where we chop it up with one another. All right, if you want to be on the show, start to get those questions in right now. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. That'll come your way, segment number 3. So you have plenty of time to do that. But I see Dub Williams. Do you think the Eagles will make a trade? Use that hashtag Eagles for that to get into the system. So many comments come through all throughout the course of the day. So obviously, it makes it easier for Chip to just pop those questions up if you use the hashtag Eagles. Recent commenter club, I see my boy Cool Rains, Tommy Curzio, Scott Patterson. I predict 3 interceptions by the Eagles against Trevor Lawrence. I like that. And we actually have some numbers which back up how the Jags are very turnover prone. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Segment number 1 will be our Eagles-Jags preview. Eric Camper using the hashtag Eagles. Good stuff by you. We're about to start the show. But before we do, can we get the 100 likes? We are at 55 right now, which means, easy math, we are 45 likes away from 100. The more people who like the show, the more people who find the stream, the more fun that we have, the bigger the audience that we have, and everybody will be a winner at the end of the day. 205 people watching. This is Eagles Now. I'm Chase Senior, producer Jake Chipper, and the Bird Gang hanging out on this Wednesday, October 30th. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and another reminder, our super chat goal, click into the goal, and if we get 10 $10 super chats on this live show, producer Chip will put on his Trevor Lawrence wig, and I will do a beer boot coming up here in just a little while. But you have to send your super chat by clicking into the goal. Who's going to be the first one? The official show begins right now. Let's talk some Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S. Let's go. Hey there, I'm Chase Sr. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, we are going to preview this Week 9 matchup, Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars at Lincoln Financial Field, and there are a lot of storylines that go with this game. The Birds are hot. The Jags are not. Doug Peterson making his return. More on that in a moment, but the Eagles are going to be looking fresh in front of the home crowd in South Philadelphia because this week marks the return of the Kelly green uniforms. The Eagles will be wearing these once again. Last year they went undefeated in the Kelly greens, and they won a couple of marquee games against the Miami Dolphins, against the Buffalo Bills in overtime. That was this photo right here where Jalen Hurts, with the Eagles down by 3, ran it in on the quarterback draws. The rain was falling in South Philadelphia. The Eagles at that point were hot. And Jalen Hurts was the odds-on favorite to win NFL MVP. As we know, the Eagles kind of free-falled after that, but those jerseys certainly were looking cool. And then A.J. Brown, after he caught a touchdown pass last year, getting the fans amped up. I really do firmly believe that the Kelly green uniforms, some of the cleanest jerseys in all of sports. What is interesting, though, that I've seen this in the comments section from a lot of people where they say the Eagles have to continue to wear midnight green as their primary uniforms because since they've won midnight green jerseys, it's been multiple eras of winning, whereas those Kelly green jerseys, they were marked and remembered for a lot of losing years. I'm fine with the midnight green unis. I think they're really cool. I also like how the Eagles can mix and match the helmets with the black helmet or the black pants, going all white. And then sometimes they can alter those jerseys a little bit. But from time to time, you got to be able to switch it up and throw it back to the Kelly greens. And forget about the losing era. It's a new era. Speaking of eras, Doug Peterson making his return to Philadelphia, where he is a statue outside of Lincoln Financial Field alongside Nick Foles. It was him relaying the call Philly special to Foles, the only coach in the history of this great organization that has hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. What a night that was in February of 2018 to cap off a magical 2017 campaign. Forever grateful to Doug Peterson. One of the best nights of my life when the Eagles won that Super Bowl, dethroning Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. As for the current day, Philadelphia hosting Jacksonville here. Kickoff slated for Sunday, November 3rd. 4:05 p.m. Eastern is when this game will get underway. It originally was supposed to be a Sunday night game. It got taken out of that time slot. The over-under, 45.5, and Philadelphia 8-point favorites in this ball game. Of course, we'll be doing another watch party for it right here on the program, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can join us, the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. But also, if you hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications, and subscribe anytime we push out a show, anytime we go live, you'll be notified. Show gets underway on Sunday with an hour and 5-minute pregame show where we'll preview this ball game, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you there. Philadelphia right now on a roll as we officially begin our preview. The Eagles have won 3 games in a row. They have found their identity seemingly on both sides of the football. And what has been key for the Eagles during this 3-game winning streak in which they've beaten the Browns, Giants, and Bengals, Jalen Hurts, first and foremost, playing really well. And he's playing smart football and clean football. No turnovers during this winning streak. He has 9 combined touchdowns, 0 giveaways. I also really like how Philadelphia has had a very balanced offense, and depending on the opponent, their game plan changes. Against the Browns, they were balanced. Hurts found success through the air. Eagles found success on the ground. Against New York, one of the top defenses in the NFL, the Eagles ran right through New York, and Saquon Barkley had a career game, and Hurts was efficient, but he didn't have to throw the football all that much against one of the top pass rushes in the NFL. Then against Cincinnati, Hurts was fantastic. He completed 80% of his passes. He combined for 4 total touchdowns, and Saquon Barkley once again surpassing the century mark, but you also had contributions from everywhere. A.J. Brown, another good game. Devontae Smith popped off. Grant Calcaterra was really good. And so this Eagles team is really playing complementary football right now. And speaking of that, during this 3-game winning streak, this Eagles defense has turned the corner. and they've really been sound at all three levels. Young defenders have been balling. And since Nick Sirianni was on the hot seat after that Browns victory coming out of the bye week when he was beefing with Eagles fans following the game on the sideline, this team has responded very well to the Eagles head coach. So here the Eagles are going into week 9, 5-2. Quality win over the Green Bay Packers, who have been on a tear. And I think Green Bay is one of the top teams in the NFL. So that's a really good win for Philadelphia. The back-breaking, heartbreaking loss against the Falcons in week 2. The Eagles are a dropped Saquon Barkley pass away from being 6-1 this year. They went on the road facing adversity, beat the Saints by 3, injury rattled against the Buccaneers. They got blown out, and then those 3 straight dubs. Browns, Giants, Bengals, looking to make it 4 in a row against Jacksonville. The Jags so far are 2-6. It's been a very disappointing season for them. They have a lot of money invested into Trevor Lawrence, who they give a contract extension to. They have a lot of talent on offense. Their defense has some marquee players too, but they just got off to an awful start. 4 losses in a row to kick off the 2024 campaign. Against Miami, where they had a lead, against the Browns, close loss, blown out against Buffalo, close loss against Houston, 3-point win over Indy, blown out in London against the Bears, dominant win over the Patriots, and they were in that game on the road against Green Bay last week. And my read on the Jags, this is a talented team that's lost a lot of close games. They have shot themselves in the foot. Trevor Lawrence hasn't developed. And there's been some chatter about Doug Peterson being on the hot seat. I think he definitely is, even though the owner, Shad Khan, gave him a ringing endorsement. But what we're seeing with the Jags right now is what we saw at the end of Doug Peterson's tenure, where they're a little bit sloppy, they make avoidable mistakes, and they suffer self-inflicted wounds. And at the end of the day, that kind of falls on the head coach. But he's drawn up some good plays, and the Jags have had pretty good offensive performances, but he hasn't been helped out by Trevor Lawrence like he wasn't helped out by Carson Wentz. 8 games this year for Lawrence. His completion percentage is well below what it should be at 62.5%. He's thrown for 1,800 plus yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks, not bad. Yards per attempt at 7.6, but the eye test is really what has been concerning because he's missed a lot of wide open throws. I will say over his last 5 games, and Chip will love this because he went to Clemson and loves Trevor Lawrence, 8 touchdowns, 3 picks. And the Jags in those last 5 games have scored 27 plus points in 3 of those matchups. So they have turned the corner a little bit, and they have some really good talent on the offensive side of the football, including their first-round pick, Brian Thomas out of LSU. He's been one of the top rookies in this 2024 class offensively, and he looks to be a number 1 wideout. They lose Calvin Ridley to the Tennessee Titans. They replace him with Brian Thomas, and honestly, the production has been just as good, if not better. And, of course, Thomas is the cheaper player. 33 catches, 573 yards, 17.3 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. He could take the top off of the defense. He's physical, and you have to remember, too, Trevor Etienne, pretty solid player as well. As for the Eagles' injury news, is it Trevor Etienne? Travis Etienne. Trevor Etienne is his brother who plays for Georgia. Eagles' injury news. Mekhi Becton returned to practice this week. So he had a concussion. He suffered that against the Giants 2 weeks ago. Did not play against Cincinnati. Good to see him back at practice, although, as we talked about on the show, Tyler Steen, I'm getting my names all mixed up. Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Steen, ETNs. My goodness, Chase, get it together. Tyler Steen played really well in the place of Mekhi Becton, I thought, against Cincinnati. Darius Slay did not practice, groin injury. He left that Bengals game. Isaiah Rodgers came in, had that wonderful play on Jamar Chase to force that interception that fell into the hands of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Dallas Goedert did not participate as of this recording. Hamstring injury. I still expect him to potentially miss this Jags game. Greg Calcaterra stepped in. He's played very well. And not sure what's going on with Jalen Carter, but he did not participate early this week in practice either, so we will monitor the statuses for all of these players here. As for some notable roster news for Jacksonville, Christian Kirk last week against Green Bay broke his collarbone, and so he's going to be out possibly for the remainder of the season. And then you rarely see offensive linemen, especially offensive tackles, get traded in season. But the Jags are kind of selling already going into Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. They traded Cam Robinson away to the Minnesota Vikings after the Vikings learned that Christian Darrisaw is out for the year after he hurt his knee in Week 8. Plenty more to get to here on the show as we preview this Eagles-Jags game. But first, who you got? JAC for Jacksonville, PHI for Philadelphia. I'll give you my score prediction coming up here just around the corner. Today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, sponsored by our friends at Game Time. They specialize in last-minute tickets and last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop on the Game Time app as the event gets closer, and I love this app for so many reasons. Easy to use, great user interface, great deals, flash deals, plenty of tickets to all types of events like sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and theater events. I also love how you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Jags Eagles, if you want to go, plenty of tickets available at all types of different price points and levels, and there is an example of how you can see the price point and the vantage point from those seats. So, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. What time is it? Game time. All right, to the back end of our preview. The Philadelphia Eagles have to do these following things in order to be victorious against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in Week 9. And Philadelphia is really on a roll right now, looking for 4 dubs in a row. And if they beat Jacksonville, they're in an excellent position to make the playoffs and to compete for this division and potentially win the NFC at 6-2. The Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, are 9-2 since the start of the 2023 season when passing for 250-plus yards. That is 4th best in the NFL during that time frame. The Jags, on the other hand, have allowed 249.8 passing yards per game since 2023. That is the 2nd worst mark in the NFL. So if Jalen Hurts is able to have success through the air and he can hit some explosives to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and others, it points to the Eagles being able to pull out a victory here. Philadelphia is also undefeated when forcing 1 or more turnovers this year. And we know that Trevor Lawrence can put the ball in harm's way. That's been the case throughout his career. With interceptions and fumbles, ball security is a problem. And the Eagles are 12-3 when forcing 1 or more turnovers since the start of last season. The Jags have 21 turnovers since the start of 2023. That is tied for 4th most in the NFL. So it's not just Lawrence. Ball security is a problem for that offense in general. And this is a Jacksonville team where when you watch them, you're like, they have some players. They're really talented on both sides of the ball, but they always shoot themselves in the foot. Offensively, they're turning it over. In the red zone, they're inefficient. Defensively, they just aren't coached well enough. Defensive coordinator has been a problem under Doug Peterson. He's had to run through a couple of them. And this is an example of that. The Jags have turned it over on downs 9 times in the red zone since 2023. That's the most in the NFL. So Dougie P is still very aggressive like he was in Philadelphia, but they haven't converted on those 4th down attempts. Tied for the 4th most turnovers in the game the last 2 years. Not a sustainable way to play. And this year, the Jags have held leads, and they've been in a lot of games. They simply haven't been able to close, and a big reason for that, them making mistakes, them turning the ball over, leaving meat on the bone, and leaving money on the table. For this Eagles offense, what I've really loved during this 3-game winning streak, Jalen Hurts is playing clean football, 9 combined touchdowns, 0 giveaways during this winning streak. The play action has really opened things up in the pass game and in the run game, and that includes Jalen Hurts taking snaps from under center. And we saw against the Bengals that Kellen Moore called a couple of those plays, and it led to big plays for this Eagles offense. This Eagles offensive line, even though against Cincinnati, they're without Jordan Mailata and Mekhi Becton, they are playing bully ball when they're at full strength or even when they have backups. And when this Eagles offensive line can insert its dominance and they get their confidence going, they just wear down teams throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game, and they sense that, and then they're just thirsty for blood. And so this Eagles team is a team right now that has this identity of explosive plays downfield in the pass game. They're incorporating more play action. Jalen Hurts out of the shotgun under center. That makes the Eagles a little bit more difficult to guard. Saquon Barkley is having an NFL Offensive Player of the Year type of season. And so the Eagles have become a team that's very difficult to defend. Elsewhere, A.J. Brown right now, according to Pro Football Focus, the highest graded wide receiver in the NFL. And his completion percentage when targeted is also so high up there. And basically what that means, he's catching balls that a lot of other wide receivers aren't able to catch and do not catch. And it just speaks to his physical dominance, his ball tracking skills, and his sure hands. It was also really good to see Devontae Smith pop off against Cincinnati. Up until last week, he had a silent year, dealt with the concussion against New Orleans, against Tampa Bay, but that's the player that he's capable of being, and when the Eagles are more well-rounded, that's when they're at their best. Grant Calcaterra, I see you, son. Dallas Goedert goes out. He has been a very viable pass-catching target for Jalen Hurts, who has trusted him. And the backups on this Eagles team in general have really stepped up. And Nick Sirianni talked about this week. Tyler Steen at right guard. Fred Johnson at left tackle. He gave up one pressure when he was one-on-one with Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is one of the top edge rushers in the game. And then defensively, a player like Isaiah Rodgers has to step in for Darius Slay after he left that game with a groin injury. Forces the interception with sticky coverage on Jamar Chase. As for this Eagles defense, what I love right now, the pass rush has gotten going. 5 sacks against Cleveland, 8 against New York, 1 against Cincinnati. I wouldn't be overly concerned by that. The game plan for the Bengals, get rid of the ball quickly. But this pass rush is starting to turn the corner, and these young defensive linemen are really developing before our eyes. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, they are studs in the secondary, playing elite football right now. I like what Vic Fangio is doing with timely blitz calls here and there. Historically hasn't been a defensive coordinator who dials up a lot of pressure, but he's doing it in moments that have been beneficial for Philadelphia, and he's also mixing up his coverages and his personnel. That is the formula for being a really good team, where you are well-rounded, you are loaded with talent, you're balanced, deep, complementary, and you are well-coached. And I think that's a big reason why the odds makers have Philadelphia with the third best odds to win the NFC. Now, the Detroit Lions right now are the best team in the NFC. The 49ers, 500, they're leaky a little bit. They've had to deal with a lot of injuries. They haven't played up to their level, but the odds makers like San Francisco because, let's face it, they're extremely talented, and if they can get it together, they're a dangerous team. But for Philadelphia to have 7-1 odds right now, it goes to show you that they're impressing a lot of people. As for how the Eagles stack up as a team, offensively, they are 10th in points per game at 24.4, and hopefully they're going to start peaking here very soon. They're 8th in yards per game, 367.1, 12th in yards per play, 21st on third down, sub 37%. That's a red flag. They need to be better there, and they're 19th in the red zone. So Philadelphia can really cure some of their third down issues and red zone problems. They can be a borderline unstoppable offense, which is what I meant by hoping that they peak at some point soon, which is the time where you want to peak because you never want to peak too early. Defensively, how about these numbers for Vic Fangio's defense? 7th in points per game, 7th in yards per game, 6th in yards per play, 20th on third downs. They've struggled to get off the field on some of the money downs, but when teams get inside the red area, the Eagles do a good job of forcing field goals and not letting them find pay dirt. 42.8%, 6th best in the NFL. The Jags, very average football team. 21st in points per game at 21.5, 14th in yards per game at 339.9. They are 10th in yards per play at 5.8, but they're not good on third downs. 29th, sub 32% there. And then they also struggle in the red zone, middle of the pack, 55.1% for their red zone touchdown percentage. Defensively, legitimately one of the worst units in the entire National Football League. 29th among 32 teams in points per game allowed at 28 even. 29th in yards per game. 31st in yards per play. 25th in third down percentage. And 28th in the red zone. So Philadelphia's offense is going to have an opportunity in Doug Peterson's return to Philadelphia to smack the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so my keys to the game: continue to stay balanced. Brian Baldinger had a very interesting tweet, and I want to pull it up here on the fly as we're recording this show, because Philadelphia, among some of the best teams in the NFL, they have a high run percentage. And highest percentage of run teams through 8 weeks, Philadelphia Eagles 55%, number one in the NFL. They're 5-2. Steelers 54%. They are 6-2. Ravens 52%, 5-3. This might come as a surprise. The Detroit Lions, who are just lighting up the scoreboard of late, 52% run. They are 6-1, and the Commanders 6-2. There are other teams, Buffalo, Kansas City, Chargers, Green Bay, Minnesota, San Francisco, all flirting at 50%. Those are all some of the best teams in the NFL. And so I want to see Philadelphia stay balanced. And I've made this point of late, even if the run doesn't work, stick with it. Because this Eagles offensive line at some point is going to figure it out. They're going to open up a hole for Saquon Barkley, and he's too good to be held in check throughout 4 quarters. He's going to pop off a long run at some point, and that run can change the complexion of the game. And then that run sets up the pass for Jalen Hurts, and now that they're incorporating more play action against a bad defense like Jacksonville, that's how they can cook. That's how Hurts can cook. For Hurts, play clean ball. 9 combined touchdowns, no giveaways during this winning streak. It's been awesome. Pressure Trevor Lawrence. If you do that, he will fold, and the Jags will turn the ball over. Brian Thomas, more than 500 receiving yards already as a rookie with 5 touchdowns. He is the real deal. Quinyon Mitchell, when matched up against some of the top wideouts in the game, he's been sensational. Great rookie matchup this week. Quinyon, when he matches up with BT. And then ETN, of course, a very good player. And the Jags have been prone to being a sloppy team. If you play into that and you become sloppy as well, that's how you can lose this game. If you play clean and you take care of business and you dominate a bad team the way that the Eagles should be able to win this ball game in that manner, they'll be victorious. So predict the score. Jags, Eagles, Sunday. We're doing a watch party for this game right here live on Eagles Now. I hope to see all of you there. I'm going with the Birds, and I think that they score a lot of points against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They force a couple of Jags turnovers. They win rocking the Kelly Green unis, and the fans are going to be into it. They'll celebrate Doug Peterson returning, but he doesn't celebrate with the dub, 33-17. Birds move to 6-2. Flipping the Bird, $10 super chat, and I love what he did. So you can see in the comments section, we have a goal on today's live show. That was one of what we hope is 10 super chats of $10 or more. So if you click into that goal and you send in a $10 super chat and we get 10 $10+ super chats, producer Chip, live today, has to put on a Trevor Lawrence wig and I have to do a beer boot. So follow the lead from Flipping the Bird. Here's what he had to say. I could see Howie trading for the Jags edge rusher Trayvon Walker on Monday. 2025 second rounder and a 5th rounder should do it. I'm watching Braveheart right now, and I'm jacked up on Freedom. Let's go. That has me fired up. And if you trade for Trayvon Walker, who should have never gone before Aiden Hutchinson, that's the type of developmental player that Howie Roseman might be able to bring in. Flipping the Bird. We appreciate that, my man. Hope all is well with you, and freedom continues to run through your veins. Recent Commenter Club before we move on to segment number 2. Robert Serrata, Eagles fan, John O'Rourke, Carol Hosey, Red CG, Big Ben, Football JSF, BGD, Dragon. I see all of you in the comment section. Zach, Cool Rains. What it do? Also, use the hashtag Eagles to be in our mailbag. That's not this segment, but the segment after that for segment number 3. So get involved. Get those questions in. Hashtag Eagles. Or if you want to send in a super chat like Flippin' the Bird, we're going to feature his question on the mailbag as well.
Yes, sir. Doing pretty good on the questions so far. Could use some more, though, so keep getting those in. And if you want to, again, send in a $10 super chat through our goal there. You can ask a question, help us reach our goal, all in one, baby. Let's get it going. I got the wig right next to me. It's ready to be put on.
Yes, it is.
I'm not putting it on unless we get there.
$10 super chats if you click into the goal in the comment section. Chip has to wear the Trevor Lawrence wig today. Losing hope. What up, brother? Hope all is well with you. All right, let's move forward to segment number 2. Trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday. Will the Eagles make a move? We're going to go through their thoughts because the Eagles have spoken about this and some potential trade targets for Philadelphia, and it's coming up right now. Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for hanging out here with me. Do the Eagles need to make a trade going into Tuesday's NFL trade deadline? Sunday's game against the Jags could also decide what Howie Roseman and this organization do. With that, we'll also take a look on today's show at some trade targets who have been linked to the Birds. Before we do that, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily and year-round coverage of the EAGLES. Anytime I'm in front of this camera on this microphone, I want to give you Eagles coverage that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice. We also like to have a lot of fun here on the show, like during our watch party. So join us, Eagles, Jags. Watch party gets underway on Sunday. We'll kick it off with an hour pregame show, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there. Where the Eagles sit right now, Philadelphia, 5-2. Good percentage chance that they make the NFL playoffs. They've won 3 games in a row. They're in second place in the NFC East, right behind Washington, who is 6-2 after that Jaden Daniels Hail Mary at FedEx Field over the Chicago Bears. Currently, the Birds have $10.1 million in cap space, $33 million next year. That number can be rolled over, and we know that Howie Roseman is always a magician with the cap. And when you canvass and think about this Eagles roster, they don't have a lot of needs. This is a pretty deep and talented football team. Where would the Eagles need an upgrade? Defensive tackle, edge rusher, overall defense? On the offensive side of the ball, I think they're pretty set. Now, this week, Nick Sirianni was asked about Philadelphia making a move, and it's always important to relay what the head coach had to say, so let's do that right here. He said, I love the team that we have, and I think this team is really coming together. With that being said, I know we're always looking for ways to improve our team. I know Howie is the best at that, of always looking for ways that he can improve the football team. I admire that and value that of how he goes to work there. But like I said, I love the guys that we have. I think we're coming together really nicely as a team, but we'll see how this next week plays out. Each year is different. Again, like I said, any way that we can make the team better, I'm always up for that. So Nick Sirianni with the pretty good response there, explaining where he's at as far as this Eagles roster, but of course he's cognizant that Howie Roseman is a mover and a shaker. What's also of note is that we talk about Philadelphia maybe adding a defensive player. So defensive coordinator Vic Fangio was asked on Tuesday, do you think the Eagles need to make a move? Do you need an addition to your defense? Fangio said, no. I like where our defense is at, and rarely do in-season trades work out. We have seen that for Philadelphia, right? Kevin Byard didn't work out. Robert Quinn didn't work out. And Howie Roseman has made in-season trades before. Sometimes, yeah, he does swing and miss. It is hard to get players acclimated at times, and Philadelphia certainly knows that. Vic Fangio has an opinion on it. As for how the Eagles stack up on both sides of the ball, I think the Eagles' offense is just scratching the surface of what they can become. They're 10th in points per game at 24.4. They're 8th in yards per game, 12th in yards per play. They have to get better on third downs and in the red zone. If they figure out those issues, Philadelphia could put even more points on the scoreboard. Love what I'm seeing from this Eagles defense over the last few weeks. They seem to be turning the corner. Vic Fangio is coaching his tail off right now, maximizing these players, putting them in a big position to succeed, and Philadelphia reaping the benefits of that. Keep in mind how bad they were last year. I mean, they couldn't stop a runny nose. 7th in points per game, 7th in yards per game, 6th in yards per play. 20th on third downs, not great, but 6th in red zone touchdown percentage. Philadelphia right now, going into the deadline and going into week 9, sitting pretty according to the odds makers as well. Odds to win the NFC. Detroit Lions have been humming on the offensive side of the football. They're plus 300, so 3-1 odds to win the NFC and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in New Orleans in February. The 49ers at plus 425. You have the Eagles and Packers at 7-1, and then the Vikings at 9-1. So let's segue to today's poll question. I want to see where everybody is at. Do the Eagles need to make a move? N for need, D for don't need. Share your thoughts with me down below in the comment section. Today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, sponsored by our friends at DraftKings, the best sports book in the game. Myself and Chip, we talk Eagles here on the channel on Eagles Now. We also host a 76ers channel, 76ers Now. So you'll see the promo code that we want you to use, Sixers Chat, because DraftKings is sponsoring our Sixers channel and some NBA channels under the Chat Sports umbrella. But we want to push this to our audience because I know a lot of you in Pennsylvania and across the country use DraftKings. You like to bet on games, but DraftKings is the best sports book for a variety of reasons, including this one right here. The best deal. If you bet $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. You just have to use the code SixersChat. Here's some more info on that. NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets that you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And here are my picks for Eagles Jags on Sunday at the link. I like the Birds minus 7.5, and I'm going to go with this one. Eagles defense has been rolling. Jags offense really spotty. I think the Jags punt on the first drive. Both of those picks, minus 110. Use the code SixersChat. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets. All that information is down below in the description and in the show notes of today's video, and also attached to the pinned comment right below. Here's what Jeremy Fowler had to say about Philadelphia going into the deadline. He knows how Howie Roseman moves. He knows what Howie's all about. He said the Eagles are always a threat to make moves at the deadline, but they have no obvious needs. Left tackle Jordan Mailata will return soon. The youth experiment on defense going well with pass rusher Nolan Smith and corners Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Would general manager Howie Roseman take a shot at a star such as Cardinals safety Budda Baker? Now, I know that Howie likes to star hunt. He likes to bring players in with high pedigree. Budda Baker's still playing at a really high level. Number one, I don't know if the Cardinals move him. NFC West is wide open. Arizona's at 4-4. He is in a contract year, but I don't think they're in sell mode. But then also ask yourself this question. Do the Eagles even need Budda Baker? I don't think so. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's playing well after a slow start, and he's like the heartbeat of that defense. With the swagger, the leadership, him being vocal, bringing that energy to the table. And Reed Blankenship has made so many big plays throughout his career as an Eagle. I think that safety tandem is really good. And I'm looking down at the comment section. Dennis Designs mentioning a name who we haven't talked about a lot because he's been injured, but Sidney Brown is a very good backup safety who I think the Eagles should find a way to get him on the field, but the Eagles don't really have any obvious needs. So I just don't think that Budda Baker is a player who Howie Roseman is going to target, nor does he need to target. And Fowler also makes some good points. These young players are balling for Philadelphia right now. He mentioned Quinyon Mitchell. Look at how Mitchell, Guantanamo Bay, has matched up against some of the top wide receivers in the NFL. He's given up 5 yards to Drake London, 23 yards to Chris Olave, 19 yards to Mike Evans, 10 yards against Amari Cooper. Malik Neighbors only got 9 yards on him, and Jamar Chase, 16 yards. As for his 2024 running mate in Cooper DeJean, look at where he ranks among all corners. Yo, this is awesome. Pro Football Focus overall grade of 84.4, fourth among 201 corners. A coverage grade of 87.2, second among 201 corners. He has a half sack. He's used as a blitzer. Swiss Army knife everywhere. Making impactful plays. Stopping Elijah Moore on that critical red zone play against Cleveland. And then the great play against Jamar Chase, in which we did the film study earlier this week on. He has 1 pass breakup, 2 TFLs. But how about these numbers right here? One of the top corners in the game. Obviously limited sample size, but that's who he can become. And then Jeremy Fowler also threw out Nolan Smith. Some notable Nolan numbers. Say that 10 times fast for me down in the comment section. Smith played 30 snaps against Cincinnati last week, 52%. That's the most that he's played in a game this year. Second most of his career, week 18 against New York last year. That was the highest snap count that he's played. His pass rush grade is 72.6. That is 26th among 191 edge rushers, so not bad at all. He has 2.5 sacks in his last 3 games. But also, when you dive deeper into some of the analytical numbers, Nolan Smith is thriving. Since week 5 and during this winning streak, pass rush win rate, 25%. That's third in the NFL. Pass rush grade, 84. That's third in the league. I love the rep that he had for the half sack against Amarius Mims, a first-round pick from April's NFL draft. That's first-round pick going up against first-round pick. And oh yeah, Nolan Smith, he's like 23 years old. Other players who could make sense for Philadelphia. Jonathan Cooper did play under Vic Fangio back in 2021, and he's a pretty good edge rusher. If Philadelphia doesn't go star hunting for a pass rusher, they could go with more of a rotational player like Jonathan Cooper who can get after the quarterback. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's a 30-year-old defensive tackle for a Browns team that I know that they beat the Ravens this past week, but they could sell, and Tomlinson could become available. He could really help you stuff the run. Jordan Davis just hasn't taken that leap. If you want to admit that you failed on the Jahan Dotson trade, he's been in the witness protection program since that trade to Philadelphia. Adam Thielen is playing on a bad Panthers team. And then if you want another rotational edge rusher who's not the star that he once was, Jadeveon Clowney is another player who could make sense for the Birds. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram. I put out a lot of short-form content on my social media pages, so hit me up over there at Chase_Senior. 14,000 followers on X. Thank you, Elon. More than 33,000 followers on IG. Dennis Designs, a $10 super chat, and I mentioned that super chat during that segment because Dennis knows ball, and he made such a great point. I agree. Sidney Brown is back. Where do you put him? He needs to be on the field. Right now, he's playing special teams. That's it. Because who do you replace him with? The Eagles defense is playing really well right now, and so Vic Fangio clearly likes his personnel, and so it's not because Sidney Brown isn't good. It's just because the Eagles like their players right now. And who are you going to take off the field for him? Matt Levinson, good to see you again. I've had my eye on Thielen. Makes so much sense and better than Dotson. Good job by you using the hashtag Eagles.
Oh, he's using it a bunch.
Yeah, Khalil Mack, good stuff, man.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of questions in there. Shout out.
Yeah, segment number 3 might be the Matt Levinson mailbag. All right, so you see our goal. 10 super chats of $10+ and Chip is putting on the Trevor Lawrence wig here on today's show. Flipping the bird, Dennis Designs. We're 2/10 of the way there thanks to their two $10 super chats. And good job by Dennis. Good job by Flipping the Bird for clicking into the goal in the comment section, because that's how we get there. Who else is going to donate to the cause? Let's go. What's up with Jalen Carter's shoulder? I think it's more maintenance. I mean, he's played really well. It hasn't held him back. The Eagles didn't really list like what's wrong with him, but we'll, of course, continue to monitor his status.
Be sure to keep getting those questions in. Better do a mailbag. So if you have not yet, either super chat and ask a question. We'll get your question at the front of the show, or use hashtag Eagles. Could use a couple more. So be sure to get those in. If you got some you want us to answer, because we got you. We want to hear from you.
Nate Phillips Williams. Here's a weird idea. How about trying Sidney Brown as a wide receiver 3 on a trial basis? You know, I've always thought this, like, I think DBs become DBs because they couldn't be wide receivers. They didn't have good enough hands. And so they say to themselves, and their coaches say to them, can't catch, got to hit somebody. Now, Sidney Brown did have that long pick 6 of Kyler Murray last year. Can't believe the Eagles lost that game, by the way. But I don't think the Eagles are going to use him in that manner. Jason Guadalupe, do you think the Eagles will trade Jordan Davis? Very interesting. I don't think they will, but I don't think he's getting that 5th-year option exercised after this year. I think last year will be the final year of his contract. And maybe that's the kick in the ass that he needs. But you know what's also good? Thomas Booker, Moro Ajomo, Milton Williams, they've played really well at defensive tackle. Andrew Nathan, always love interacting with you on X. You laughed at one of my tweets the other day. Was it the photo of the Saints players where you had Gay and Orgy next to each other? It's very funny. Football with no context. Sports with no context. Yeah, I sent it to him. I was like, you got to tweet this out. Giant T, I think we trade Jahan Dotson for Cooper Kupp. See, I think the Rams are a viable contender in the NFC as they start to get a little bit healthy. So I don't think they're going to go sell mode. Wait, Doug Peterson back in Philly? What does that mean? Well, he coaches the Jags. So he's coming back to Philadelphia. KSF, it's always hilarious when the gambling ad gets sped up. That's actually me talking that fast. I'm spitting like Eminem. All right, mailbag to round things out. Get those questions in. Hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. If you send in a super chat, we're going to answer those questions first. Flipping the Bird 85, Dennis Designs. Thanks for those supers. We'll get those included here on the show. And let's get into it. All right, let's get into it here. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. Hope you're having a great weekend. And keep in mind, we'll be live for this Week 9 matchup between the Eagles and the Jags. So be sure to join us and hit that subscribe button. The best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. You know what I want you to do. Just hit that sub button down below for year-round and daily coverage of the Birds. Flipping the Bird 85, getting us started with our mailbag with the $10 super chat. And I imagine the people are going to propose a lot of trade scenarios with the deadline coming up on Tuesday. I could see Howie Roseman trading for Jaguars edge rusher Trayvon Walker on Monday. A 2025 second rounder and a 5th rounder should do it. I'm watching Braveheart right now, and I'm jacked up on freedom. Let's go. I love that. Freedom running through your veins. Freedom running through the veins of a lot of Americans all across the United States. And did you mention that because a big decision day is coming up on Tuesday? Yeah, it's the NFL trade deadline, but also Election Day is coming up. No, in all seriousness, could Howie trade for Trayvon Walker? The Jags clearly are not going to make the playoffs. They're off to an awful start this year. They have 2 wins. Are they really going to give up already on Trayvon Walker? Now, when they drafted him, I disagreed fully and adamantly with that choice. They fell in love with his athleticism and his pre-draft testing. The choice was always Aiden Hutchinson, who prior to him breaking his leg a few weeks ago against the Cowboys was having a Defensive Player of the Year campaign. He was tremendous. Trayvon Walker is an athlete, but he's not a seasoned, defined edge rusher like Aiden Hutchinson, who has moves and hustle. You can't just win at the NFL level with twitch, bend, and speed. And that's what Trayvon Walker has had to rely on a little bit too much. And so will a second-round pick get it done? That would signal to me that the Jags are just fully giving up on the player. This year, he's been pretty good. He has 6.5 sacks. He had 10 last year. But my point is, he's not the player of Aiden Hutchinson. Second rounder and a fifth rounder, I just don't think the Jags are going to give up on him already, especially with him showing some signs of life, and he's only 24 years old. But you know that Howie always loves those players with good pedigree. Dennis Designs. Sidney Brown is back. Where do you put him? He needs to be on the field. Well, you think about this Eagles team right now and where they're at, they're sitting in a really good position on the defensive side of the ball. During this 3-game winning streak, I know that the offense has found an identity, but this Eagles defense has also really helped to carry them. They had those 5 sacks against Cleveland. They had the 8 sacks against the New York Giants. They only had 1 sack of Joe Burrow, but the game plan for Cincinnati, get rid of the ball quickly, but they held up really well on that back end. And Philadelphia right now, 7th in points per game, 7th in yards per game, 10th in points per play, 6th in yards per play, and in the red zone, they're really good. They buckled down inside the 20, 6th in opposing red zone scoring percentage. And then against the run, they're 7th in rushes per game, 15th in yards per rush, 8th in rushing yards per game, 5th in rushing touchdowns, so that's not bad. And against the pass, yards per pass, they're 7th. Passing yards per game, they're 10th. Their sack percentage is 6th. Those numbers inflated a little bit with what they did against Cleveland and New York. But my point here in talking about this Eagles defense, I think it goes to show you that Vic Fangio really likes his personnel. There's a reason why the Eagles moved on from Devin White. Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond are playing really well. We're seeing Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, Thomas Booker, Milton Williams, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff turning the corner. They're playing really well. And at corner, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, Cooper DeJean, they've been good. At the safety spot, Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they're also playing at a good level. And so when you think about the Eagles making a move as far as a trade, I don't know if they need to. Because this defense looks to be legit. And then, of course, they're going to have some bad games, but they've had some really stellar performances this year. And if you want to play Sidney Brown, where do you play him? You're not going to put him ahead of Cooper DeJean in the slot. You're not going to start him over C.J. Gardner-Johnson or Reed Blankenship. Now, can you mix him in from time to time? For sure. And I imagine they're still trying to get him acclimated coming off that torn ACL. Right now, his role, primary special teamer, if an injury does happen at that safety spot, he does serve as a really good depth piece. I do like his versatility, how you can play him all around the field. But right now, I don't see who he takes the place up to get snaps. Dragon, our guy, tuned in from Serbia. Who would you rather have for a first-round pick in a trade, Myles Garrett or Max Crosby? That's a really, really good question. Myles Garrett is the better player, but he's also older. Max Crosby isn't quite to the level of Myles Garrett, still elite, but a little bit younger. And so if I traded a first-round pick for a player to win the Super Bowl, I might go Myles Garrett. He's actually pretty affordable, and both of them are pretty affordable for the impact that they have and how much edge rushers are getting paid. Nick Bosa, for instance, he's making $34 million per year. Myles Garrett's at 25. Max Crosby's right in that area. So I would love both players. If I'm going all in to win a Super Bowl this year, I'd probably go Myles Garrett, but I love Max Crosby. He's probably the better city fit because Eagles fans would absolutely love how he plays the game. He plays it with hustle, tenacity, aggressiveness, and hunger like Brandon Graham and Trent Cole. Matt Levinson, do you think the Eagles trade for Khalil Mack? I'm sure it wouldn't take much to get him. He fits the system. He knows it. and he can still rush the passer. So I talked about Khalil Mack a few weeks ago, and my argument for why the Eagles could trade for him, he's 33 years old, expiring year on his contract. Chargers probably not going to re-sign an older player. So do they move off of an older player who they don't envision being a part of their core and get some value back for him? And for Khalil Mack, he played under Vic Fangio, and in 2018 with the Chicago Bears, he had 12.5 sacks. So he knows the scheme. He'd be a good scheme fit. Mack did have 17 sacks last year in his age 32 season. He had 5 or 6, which came in one game. Even if you take that game away, still had, 11 sacks? And he was a Pro Bowler and a really good defender. This year he has 3.5 sacks. Here's why I don't think the Chargers move him. They want Justin Herbert to get playoff experience. And right now, they're in the playoff hunt. So they don't want to move a player that helps them get to the playoffs because Justin Herbert has played in one playoff game. And they might risk losing Mack for nothing just to get Herbert that playoff experience because right now, they're in the race in the AFC. And I would go about it in that way because it's really important for their quarterback to get that experience. And Jim Harbaugh's doing a really good job in year one with the Chargers. The Chargers. Game Time, our presenting sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now the only app that I use in a very crowded ticketing marketplace. A lot of reasons why I love the Game Time app. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. Prices drop as the event gets closer. You'll get the best vantage point and price point. They also have a lot of great deals like flash deals where you simply swipe and you're able to save a lot of money. Now, if you download the app, you create an account, you can save additional money by using the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Terms apply. First purchase only. You can also see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can access tickets from your phone and easily resell your tickets. We'll be live for Eagles Jags on Sunday. If you want to join us, great. If you want to go to the game, that's awesome. Plenty of tickets available at Lincoln Financial Field. Thanks to Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier to find tickets to sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and theater events. And you're going to get the lowest price guaranteed. So download the app, use that code CHATSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase. And I promise you, you'll really enjoy what the Game Time app has to offer. We continue to move forward in our mailbag. Cool Rains, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Who has been the most impressive player on offense and defense? On offense, I think Saquon Barkley's in the running for NFL Offensive Player of the Year. I thought it was hilarious how before the year I was saying on X, on Instagram, on Eagles Now, Saquon Barkley can be the Eagles version of what Christian McCaffrey was for the Niners last year. Saquon Barkley can be an All-Pro. He can become NFL Offensive Player of the Year. And people laughed at that. Saquon is not Christian McCaffrey. What has Saquon done this year? It's been fantastic. And he's one of the leaders in rushing yards, all-purpose yards. Every single game, he is making some type of huge impact throughout the course of it. He's a game breaker. He's a game changer. And he's literally been that diverse, versatile type of player like McCaffrey is, with his ability to run it in between the tackles, get out to the edge, and catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think he's been the most impressive player on offense. How do you not go with A.J. Brown, though? A.J. Brown is the highest graded wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus. And when you look at some of the analytics, he has really distanced himself from other wide receivers. Catch percentage over expected, picking up yards after the catch, explosive plays. So it's very neck and neck between Saquon and A.J. Brown. Defensively, I'd have to go Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell is legitimately, as a rookie, playing at a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of level. Jalen Carter is in the mix as well. Sometimes his impact isn't felt as much on the box score as it is when you watch the tape because he can really just destruct and blow up plays. Cooper DeJean's been really good his first 3 starts. So those are the players that I'll go with on defense. Matt Levinson with another heater. He's had his eye on Adam Thielen. Makes so much sense, and he's better than Dotson. I brought up Adam Thielen before the Eagles traded for Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, what a weird story. 12 touchdowns his last 2 years. First round pick out of Penn State. I covered him my previous job when he was at Penn State. Soft hands, good route runner, good 40 speed, a 4.4 guy. But last year he led the Commanders in drop percentage. And in training camp this year, he was getting beat out by Olamide Zaccheaus and Noah Brown. And with Philadelphia, he's barely done anything. Now, his yards per route run is extremely low. That's on the offense. We've also seen Eagles don't really target wide receiver 3. They didn't last year with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They couldn't get Olamide Zaccheaus involved, couldn't get Julio Jones involved. Now they can't get John Dotson involved. Is Adam Thielen going to make that much of a difference? In theory, when you think about his addition, it does make sense, but I don't think the Eagles will pick up another wide receiver because they already traded a third for Dotson. It's also interesting to see Anaya Smith used as a motion man against Cincinnati. I like motion. It's got me feeling icy. Andrew Nathan, do you think that Howie could trade for Azeez Ojulari? What would be your compensation you'd be willing to give up for a young edge rusher? And would the Giants trade him in the division? Now, I've talked with our Giants host, Marshall Green of Giants Now, about Azeez Ojulari. He's a 24-year-old player with an elite skill set. And when I look at players who you could trade for, you ask yourself, what does that player do well? Does he have a special trait? His special trait is getting after the quarterback and being a really good athlete. And this year, since Kayvon Thibodeau has been out the last few weeks, he has 6 sacks. And year by year, he had 8 sacks as a rookie, 5.5 in year 2, didn't play as much last year, 2.5 sacks in 11 games, 7 games before that. So that's a little bit of a worry. But in 8 games this year, 6 sacks. He's playing for a future contract. So he's really fast. He has bend and twitch. And he can get after the quarterback. Like 22 sacks in what is his 4th year, that's not bad. But he's not good against the run. And I'm not sure if the Giants would trade him inside the division. He was a 2nd-round pick, 50th overall, so he is on an expiring contract. If they fully sell and they want some value back for a player who they don't envision keeping, maybe. It's certainly a good name, and I think he's a good player. Jason Guadalupe, would you rather have Slay or Rodgers at the cornerback spot? I know that Darius Slay does get some shit from Eagles fans, and some of it is well-deserved, especially after he gets cooked against Tampa Bay and he puts out his resume on X. That was corny. That's not what you should do in the city of Philadelphia. That's like me going on air, being unable to speak, pissing down my leg, choking away a show, releasing that show in front of thousands and millions of people because we have millions of people who watch this show every month. And then I list my resume out. And I'm like, well, I have done all of this. I was terrible on this show, but I've done all of this. It was just a bad move. I do think that in the grand scheme of things, Darius Slay has performed pretty well. He has an overall PFF grade of 70.3. That's 41st among 201 corners. He has a 72.2 grade. That's 36th among 201 corners. I know that the Eagles are paying him to be a better player, but he's at least held up out there. Some of his other rankings, let's see, anything really stand out? He's 9th in pass breakups with 5, so he's clearly an older player. He's not the player who he once was, but he's actually been pretty good. And the Eagles are so deep at corner with Quinyon thriving, Slay playing well, DeJean in the slot, that Isaiah Rodgers is barely playing. But when he gets on the field, what a play he made against Jamar Chase. Step for step, read his eyes, turned around, addressed the football, batted it up into the awaiting hands of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. A high-level play. All throughout the spring and in the summer, we're hearing Isaiah Rodgers. He can start at corner. The only reason he's not is because Quinyon has been balling as a rookie. So if Slay doesn't play this week because of his groin, I really want to see what Rodgers can do. It's always good to have depth at that corner spot. Carol Hosey, last one. How will Doug Peterson's return impact the team? I don't think it's going to really impact the team at all. Like, you think about the players who were on that Super Bowl team. Lane Johnson Brandon Graham. That's really it. I'm trying to think right now of the players who were on that Super Bowl team and even players who were here his final year in 2020. A lot of them are gone. And so the players, of course, know, okay, Doug Peterson, yeah, he was the head coach from 2016 through 2020. He won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia. He has a statue outside of the stadium with Nick Foles, but I don't think his return is really going to impact the team. I think the fans will give him a standing O, and it's going to be a little bit emotional for Eagles fans who know he's the only head coach who brought back a Lombardi to this city and organization, but I don't think it'll impact the team all that much. Carol, I sent you that football as well. It should be in the mail from last week's Super Chat. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can be a part of our shows and you can ask questions like all of the legends and real ones who have today. And as always, thank you so much for all of your support. Jeff Chipper, a $10 Super Chat. We are 30% toward our goal. Can we get there? Oh, it ended. Oh, that's right. I only put it on for an hour. That's a bad job by me. Yeah, that's a bad job. I should have made it 2 hours. We tried something new. All good. We got up to $40 in Super Chats. Oh, another one from Dennis that we can hit. That's right. I did see that pop up. Andrew Nathan, Jake Elliott. That's a good one. Jake Elliott was on the team. Yeah, Jake Elliott, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson. The rest of the line is different. All of the wide receivers are different. Dallas Goedert was not on the team. They drafted him that following year. Fletcher Cox is gone. Jason Kelsey's gone. None of the corners. None of the linebackers. None of the safeties. Yeah. So here's that 10 from Dennis. Come on, Chip, with the Trevor wig for Halloween. We need a voice change, too. And then Jeff Chipper, $10. Going to be a great game. Trevor will show up. All right, confidence in the Suns' alma mater in Clemson. Check the Venmos. What do we got? Did you send in a Venmo, Dennis?
Gonna be an interesting game. I'm a big Trevor guy, obviously, because I went to Clemson, but I can admit he hasn't been as good this year.
No Venmos today, brother. Were you just saying in general? Maybe some 10s. No 10s there.
Oh,
bad job. Next time I will have the goal last a little bit longer. And we'll experiment with that Super Chat goal in the chat for Sunday's watch party. Was Jordan Mailata on the international roster?
I feel like
he may have been drafted in 2017. No, 2018. 7th round pick in 2018. Wow. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but in like a football life, 2017 was a good bit ago.
I mean, it's going to be, that's what, 7 years, coming up on 8 years ago? Like,
yeah.
dang.
Crazy. Kane Angel, Chase and Chip, watch the Mutant Football League. I saw you say that the other day. We'll have to check it out. Okay, quick Trevor wig. Do it for Jeff. All right, let's do it. We'll do it for the legends. Chip going to put on the Trevor Lawrence wig.
All right, ready? I'm going to go out of view. And when I pop back up, let's see. Which way does this thing go? Here we go. This? Yeah. This thing is hilarious.
This is the same wig that we had a few years ago for Eagles Jags. Who remembers that during the 2022 season?
Here it is.
Let's go.
The Trevor Lawrence wig. It used to be longer.
Trevor Lawrence is live on Eagles Now. You kind of look like the blonde dude from Wayne's World. You know that movie?
I'd have to look it up. You know what's funny? Back in college, I used to have long hair when I went to Clemson, and people used to say I looked like him back in the day.
I'll send you the photo here so you can pop it up next to yourself.
Turnover wig? Could use it as a turnover.
Turnover wig, I like it. I think you guys are gonna laugh at this.
Oh.
Pop yourself up next to the photo that I just sent you.
Okay. Wait, I gotta put the glasses back on.
Yes, the glasses are perfect. Wade's World! Wade's World!
This is actually crazy.
That's an OG. OG show or movie. I miss comedy like that.
All
Can't
right,
make
wait.
jokes nowadays without people getting in their feelings. Look at this.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. I gotta take a picture of this.
Once it pops up, I want everyone to rate the similarity, 1
Yeah.
through 10. This might be a 9 or a 10. This is kind of crazy. It just
Rate
needs
the
to be
similarity.
a little longer.
A little bit longer. But we've cut the hair so much.
Come on.
You look confused.
All right.
A confused person with that wig on.
Okay, let's see. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Let me pull the chat back up. I need to see this.
That is too good.
What do we think? What do we think? How do I make that?
That is incredible. Grade the similarity.
1 through 10.
1 through 10. I'm going all 10s.
It is
I'm going all 10s.
almost spot on. I mean, I got the glasses and everything.
Cool Rains went 9.
The bangs.
Mustache making it weird.
I'll tell you what, I can never, ever do this. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think Allie would like that look for you.
No, I don't think so. I hope she's not watching this right now. That's good stuff. That was a good pull by you.
Good pull. Yeah, it came to mind very quickly. All right, we're going to sign off. We will be here on Sunday, starting the show an hour and 5 minutes before kick. We hope to see everybody there. Myself, Chip, and the Bird Gang hanging out on the stream with all of the legends, all of the real ones. 3 segments in the can here today. And we're out. Kyron Clarkson, appreciate you as well. Andrew Nathan, Dennis Designs. Jeff Chipper, Flipping the Bird. Thanks for the super chats. We'll see you Sunday. Plenty of content to come in the lead up to that. For Chip, I'm Chase. We out. Enjoy the World Series tonight. See ya.